Howdy folks, Bravo here. Today's video is going to be a little bit different as we're going to do a voiceover recording without my face. Well, actually, shameless plug, here's my face right after I was done spray foaming. Okay, back to business. So let's talk about how we went from this to this and maybe some things that might help you out, lessons learned, things to design around. So let's just jump into it. So the first thing I did was paint the floor with several layers of Kills clear coat primer sealer just to help seal corners, prevent rust, scuff marks and whatnot like that. And then after that I cut wood and placed it as you see in the picture here, where I'm just estimating how I want things to lay out, where I want wood to be, so I can anchor to it for things like the edge of the bed, the walls, pantry walls, stuff like that. You can see I have a strange rectangular area. You know, that's where the wall divides the bed area from the crapper and the shower. Also the access for the bed, the support beams for the bed are going to go right there. I probably could have just made it rectangular and, more strategically placed my screws for anchoring the walls and supports down to the floor. But, I guess I was feeling a little extra. So the next image here is actually right before I was going to spray foam. I pretty much got all my design down, and what you have are 2x4s across the floor in various areas, and then 1x4s on top of 1x4 cuts of foam insulation. So that's going to create more of a thermal barrier between all this wood that I have on the floor and give me even more insulation, so cold air doesn't try to climb up the wood into your feet. It's got to go through this foam, which is a little bit better R value. Let's move on to the fender wells. So as you can see, I made rectangular boxes to encase the fender wells. We'll take the lid off here and look inside, and you see that there's just quite a bit of space that is available in there. I opted to make the rectangular cases just to get around the weird shaped fender wells, and I end up filling this entire space with spray foam. That's because I think that the insulation is important, yes, but also the noise dampening from those fender wells, being right around the wheels. It just creates a ton of sound, and I'm really liking the sound deadening effects that much spray foam around the fender wells has given me. Next, let's jump up to the ceiling and just talk about that for a little bit. So what I've opted to do here is make a flat ceiling. A lot of people have that curved ceiling with each individual plank, maybe 1x3s or 4s or something. It looks really nice, but I'm trying to go with a flat ceiling design, and that does two things in my eyes. One, gives a different design, so it looks a little bit different than everybody else's. Also, two, provides more insulation. So at the peak of that arc in the very middle, I've got nearly 3 inches of insulation, and on the edges I've only got about 2.25, at the smallest edges. But all of that adding up, it really is going to provide a heck of a lot more insulation and give me even more comfort while I'm in the bus. So touching on the design here, the wood that interfaces with the metal, which I'll highlight here, is creating a thermal bridge from the screws that screw the wood to the metal across and into the wood that goes perpendicular to the length of the bus, which is where you'll be mounting your ceiling panels to. So the whole goal with this layered offset wood design is to prevent that thermal bridging. I implement the exact same design on the walls, where I mount 1x4s to the windows, every other window, and then I mount 2x4s to those 1x4s using screws, as you can kind of see in this picture. This next picture here is right before I was about to spray foam. I taped off the surface of every piece of board exactly where it's going to sit, so that whenever I'm done spray foaming, you can peel that tape off and it'll peel any flecks you have and any mistakes you spray over the wood, because it's going to stick to everything. So it made the cleanup process a heck of a lot easier. And it's hard to tell, but that clear masking you see up front, it's just clear wrap you get at Lowe's, but it's actually at an angle. So like the top front of that plastic is at the very front, right before that storage area, and then the bottom is right behind the driver's seat, because I spray foamed right above the driver's seat as well. So like I'm covering that entire area with that clear coat, just to prevent the spray foam from getting everywhere. And I'll just go ahead and show you the same image but from the rear. So I've cardboarded off everywhere where there's electronics that I don't want spray foam to get to. I've got 2 box fans because that's all I had to help push air out. I've got a trash can ready to throw away the nozzles or any kind of napkins or anything that I need to throw away in the middle of the process, because once you start spray foaming, you can't stop. It's a time sensitive application, and it's pretty dang quick. Like I felt rushed. If I did it again, I'd feel comfortable, but I'm probably not going to do it again for a long time. And if I can just get on my soapbox real quick, it's really important to follow the safety instructions of the spray foam. That stuff is toxic. Wear something that covers your entire body. Get the proper mask for the filters, and don't go anywhere near it when it's off gassing. Just play it safe. Take the evening. You're going to be dehydrated from sweating probably, so just take the evening, relax, let it air out. And also, if you have neighbors, you might go notify them, like, hey, can you move your car, or what days are you going to be gone or whatever, because this stuff, it'll flake out. It's pretty lightweight in the smaller droplets, and you don't want to get that over people's cars. So I had the neighbors move all their cars away from the area, and I moved my cars away from the area just to be safe. And it made it probably about 20 feet out. I found droplets that I went ahead and picked up, trying to be a good neighbor. I think my neighbors to the west hate me, but that's a different story. So we fast forward. It took me about 2 hours to spray foam everything. I went through 2 sets of kits to do so. And we're looking at the floor here, and I wanted to make sure I oversprayed the floor so I could cut it away and get a perfect sheen, perfect flat surface of spray foam. Something to keep in mind is the maximum recommended gap for spray foam is 3 inches. Anything more than that, and you have a chance of causing too much heat that it can actually combust. So I did the fender well gap in stages, where I went in there and I immediately sprayed a little bit, let it foam up, let it off gas a little bit, and then I went in there and sprayed it again and again until it filled up. On the sidewalls here, you can see I felt rushed, anxious about it, so I actually didn't spray as much as I wanted to, but I ended up running out of spray foam. So I'm about a ½ inch short in some places, and in other places maybe even more so, that I went back and used the rattle can spray foam to go ahead and patch the holes as I see it, and I don't think that's a big deal. It's going to happen. Some parts underneath the boards, I didn't quite crouch down enough, so I went ahead and filled that in. So I probably spent another $50 in rattle can spray foam to patch my holes, but all in all, it's not that big of a deal. It's a pretty simple process. You just need to make sure you have all your ducks in a row whenever you do it. We'll go ahead and take a look at the ceiling here real quick. I will say that the design that I went with for my ceiling, with these boards that are crossing, it created a little bit of complexity when spraying, because you had to spray from every angle to try to get on top of the wood beams, but it wasn't terrible. And I've got that the hole there for the max air fan that I'll be installing, and I have another little cardboard tube that I put up there, and that'll be where my solar electricals flow through, but go through. So just make sure you're planning ahead whenever you're spraying this. If you have to drill a hole later on, it's not that big of a deal, so don't beat yourself up. So this is the following weekend from when I spray foamed. I went in there, and what method I found was the easiest was I just took my hand saw. It's about 2 feet, maybe a little bit longer, and it's a flexible blade, and I was able to rest it on the wood of the floor and just saw away the excess spray foam, and then I'd sweep it up, I'd put it in trash bags, and I'd carry it out, and I just kept doing that until it was clean. With the sidewalls, pretty much the same thing. I ended up using a knife in some places, but for the most part it was the same exact process. It took quite a while, and you just got to cut it away, and you'll be done before you know it. So I've got some close-up pictures of various sections of the floor, and anywhere where you see 2 little black strips of tape, that's the 1x4 taped to the 1x4 cuts of foam board. So as you can see, it stayed pretty well throughout the process. I think I had like 1 or 2 boards that tried to pick up from the spray foam expanding, but I was able to clean those up with no issue and finish up the floor, which leads us to the end of the video where the floor is installed, the walls are still exposed, showing what we did. And all around, I hope everybody watching enjoyed the video. If you've got any questions, you can comment. I'll try my best to answer any questions you have, and I'll catch you next time. Bravo out.